Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode with iTrack. Big shout out to all the iTrack fans tapping in yet again, like you always do. And as you already know, I have a brand new episode for you, along with one of the greats for all the new subscribers that are just now tapping in. And if this is your first time here, what we like to do is take a look at the most interesting and creepy TikToks and kind of evaluate for ourselves whether these are fact or fake. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button for me, smash that subscribe button, and join the iTrack fam. And let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it.
This is why they want to distract you with Did He Know?
Did you see this thing that the Biden administration pushed through? This new martial law thing?
Yeah.
This is very disturbing. Jamie, please Google this so we can find out what the actual law states. But it's DOD Directive 5240.01, giving the Pentagon power for the first time in history to use lethal force to kill Americans on U.S. soil who protest government policies.
What are they expecting?
5250.01, sounds right?
Is that what it is?
No, sorry.
Did I tell you what it is? I'm sorry. 5240.01. DOD Directive. This is from RFK Jr. Posted this on Twitter, and I'm finding out about it because people are blowing me up about it. That's fucking terrifying. That is a terrifying thing to push through for the first time in U.S. history, giving the military the ability to shoot and kill American citizens.
That's crazy, too. It's interesting because, you know, with the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act and stuff like that, it's almost like they kind of, in a weird way, just make it legal what they're already doing.
What is that, the Smith Modernization Act?
The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act that Obama pushed through, which basically made it so it was legal for the U.S. government to use propaganda against its citizens, which they were already doing in different ways through CIA and all that stuff. So it sounds like we can legally do it. You can't sue us now.
How crazy is it that it's legal to lie?
How crazy
is that? It's legal
is that?
for the government to not just legally lie, but they can concoct completely fabricated stories just to push a narrative if they decide that it's in the best interest of national security or whatever.
You know, without clips like these, we would have no clues that there are laws being passed like this. When I looked it up to make sure that it actually was a law, I was shocked.
And the reason is because time is parallel, which means everything in the past and the future is existing in this moment, but within different frequencies.
What's the significance of UFOs?
Number one, it's not what you think it is. It's not coming from other planets. The evidence doesn't suggest that.
Interdimensional.
Yes. And the reason is because time is parallel, which means everything in the past and the future is existing in this moment, but within different frequencies. A civilization that's at the end of their technological cycle could build a submarine that changes its voltage and materializes in that same location, just into our timeline. And so there's a consciousness aspect to this. Everything you see is one band of frequencies. The highest frequency is light, unified mind. The lowest frequency would be blackness. And physical matter is somewhere right in the middle. So you have the ability to tune up higher or tune down lower. What it means also is that your brain is what's called a transducer. You're an antenna. So you create matter. And when you think something, it creates it. And you're not reactionary to your environment. You're actually proactive, and you just don't know it.
Now, let me just put it blatantly to you. The program targets the birth of new babies. So once you have your baby, before your baby leaves the hospital, you no longer get a paper birth certificate, but then you get a digital one that is somehow implanted somewhere on somebody's body. Think about that, but have a listen to this.
The digital ID, which has been a big problem to us for a very long time, is now on a testing mode for the next 2 months. I have been assured by all the stakeholders, led by the ministries concerned, that by December.
Google just confirmed that there's multiple universes after testing their quantum computer chip. Meet Willow, its largest quantum computer chip ever. And the founder, Heart Mutant Evan, said it was so powerful, it borrowed energy from other universes. After it solved a benchmark problem in 5 minutes, which would take a current supercomputer 10 septillion years. That is older than the universe, which Heart Mutant and the team at Google believe that there could be multiple universes because of that performance. Now, for all those people that think this is fake and they're making it up, this is a real area of study in the science space, which is what started quantum physics in the first place. And not to be that guy, Marvel, DC, and Rick and Morty have been telling us about this for decades. but no one pays attention. So what's the goal for Google and why are they doing this? Well, the goal is to make it useful for everyday problems and easy to use, just like an iPhone. We are just beginning the age of quantum computing and AI, and it's gonna help us and it's gonna hurt us. But the best thing you can do right now is lean in and learn about this technology and use it, because running from it isn't gonna do anything.
Now, I actually can agree with that last statement that he made. There's no point in complaining about all the new shiny things, all the new technology. No. Make it work for you. That's the best thing you can do right now. The wild thing about that is the main story that everybody loves to talk about is when the UFO crashed in Roswell, right? I didn't have any clue about New Jersey being a UFO spot. So that is just more information to keep connecting dots. Very interesting.
Your blood is actually programming your destiny. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, sends chemical messages into your bloodstream. These messages program how your body responds and how your mind perceives the world. Science calls this epigenetics. When you focus on love, gratitude, and abundance, your blood carries healing and empowering signals that activate the genes responsible for growth, vitality, and success. But when you allow fear, anger, or self-doubt to dominate, your blood carries those toxic signals, shutting down the genes that support your health and well-being. It's like installing malware into your system. What you think, feel, and say is shaping the code that runs your life. Speak words of power, think thoughts of possibility, visualize the reality you want to create, and let your blood carry those instructions to every cell in your body. If you want to be able to do this effortlessly, click the link in our bio to access a tool that rewrites the code for you.
Good job, thank you. The words cure and cancer don't often go together, but a single injection of a berry found only in Australia's far north is now thought to cure many types of cancer. It's being tested on animals at death's door and now on humans, making tumours disappear in just 48 hours.
In the depths of the Queensland rainforest grows a small seed with huge potential.
This is an extraordinary drug. It's a unique drug, and it really is something quite different.
Derived only from Australia's blushwood tree, EBC46 is a molecule that can fight cancer.
A full tumour destruction within 7 days.
Following astonishing results shrinking solid tumours in animals like Oscar, world-first human trials have now begun. For melanoma sufferer Denise Powell, joining the trial was a chance to avoid amputation.
My cancer surgeon said, I can take that one out. If you get any more, then you might lose an arm.
Instead of more surgery, EBC46 was injected directly into the tumour in Denise's armpit.
Less than 20 minutes, the tumour had gone purple, then black. Then within a couple of days, the tumour just kind of shriveled up and died.
This first stage trial is using safe, low doses, but even early results look promising.
Surgery treats most tumours, about 60% of them worldwide, and to do that you need an operating theatre, but with EBC46 you could go along anywhere.
Now that looks incredibly useful. Might want to do some homework on that.
To do this rap party for this photo shoot. We rented this house. And we were watching LeBron play. And after the game, it had to have been like 10 or 11 o'clock. So we getting ready to party. Mind you, it's all adults. There was a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old teenage Latin girl that was there. And I think she had to leave because she had school and she had to do homework. But she brought her mother with her. So it was no funny business going on, which I could respect that. So when 11 o'clock hit, we turned on the music. We started drinking. And then out of nowhere came these young children. I don't know where they came from. For a rap party at 11 o'clock at night, drinking, loud music, and us dancing wild. Like, I don't know where these kids came from. And then I happened to sit down because I was dancing with one of the assistants. And I sat next to this child, and the child sat next to Beyonce. So I hear B say something about, doesn't this look sexy? Or isn't this sexy? And in my mind, and mind you, I'm not awakened as I'm awakened now. So in my mind, I'm like, what did she just say? And then I didn't pay no attention to it. And then, you know, obviously the liquor took hold of me and I had to leave. So I said bye to everybody and left. But those kids remained. I don't know if those kids were from the photo shoot themselves. But the fact that these kids came around adults during drinking hours or partying hours was already alarming to me. So when I hear something like this happens, I can't really discount it and say, oh, he could never do this. Because I'm hearing stories, I'm seeing it with my own eyes, and I've been in situations.
What significance of Metatron's cube is? Do you know what the significance of it is? Flower of Life and Metatron's cube are definitely one and the same thing. You could say that. You're just taking a few of the circles away and just making sure that the circles that stay are the ones that are next to each other, right? And so there's none of the overlapping circles that you have of Flower of Life. But then you connect all of the center points of those circles and it creates Metatron's cube. A lot of people don't realize that you can form literally out of that one structure all of the Platonic solids. Not only all the Platonic solids, but all of the Archimedean solids by making another form of Metatron's cube, just offsetting it by 15 degrees. And then having a 12-point perspective, you can have all of the Archimedean, all the Catalan solids. Virtually every single geometric form that exists in the universe can be made in its regular form out of that one structure of Metatron's cube.
Do you think it would be wise of President Biden to preemptively pardon your wife, Hillary Clinton? She apparently is on Kash Patel's list.
First, she didn't do anything wrong.
Of course.
Second, she followed the rules exactly as they were written. Remember how the emails were such a big issue in 2016? Trump's State Department found that Hillary sent and received exactly 0 classified emails on her personal device.
Well, I love the confidence bill, but that's a very dishonest way to put it because they found that she committed a total of 91 security violations involving the emails, but the FBI just decided not to charge her. And that's the same FBI, by the way, that refuses to disclose a certain famous list that you may be familiar with. We call it the Epstein list. You may call it, I don't know, getting a massage with friends list. And I'm doing very good mentally. I'm not suicidal. But let me ask you this. If you had to take a guess, would you say that the FBI found exactly 0 people on the list?
Hey, you could tell he was waiting to cook Bill Clinton. And then the look that Bill gave him at the end was one of like, dang, well, that's checkmate. Crazy.
Check. Looks like a man.
Check. Man on man. Good, what is your? Sir? Yes, give him one call. Over, let him out.
Yes, fucking unmanned.
Yes, morning, sir. Online skip. Блять, попали нахуй. Взорвали. Окей, блять, видео. Взорвали его нахуй. Good job, блять.
So this lady noticed that these birds that were on her property haven't been on her property lately, and she looked around and found them dead next to her house. She was gonna make a burial site for them and bury them, but she noticed after about a month and a half to 2 months that these birds have no worms, no maggots, no foul odor to them whatsoever, and she's like confused about what's going on. Look at that. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 birds. 6 of them that are dead. That's the little one that's been 3 weeks. It's been dead for 3 weeks, and again, no worms, no maggots, no foul smell. Look at that, y'all. She went to go get her son to ask her about it. Again, these birds used to be around her garden and watching like what's going on. So her son went to go put on the gloves, and this is what he found, y'all. Check this out. There you go. You got the chips. Whatever it is, that's one of the birds. And he searches all of them, and they all have this within them.
Oh yeah, if you thought drones were just these big metal things that are in the sky, you're clearly mistaken. There's bird drones, insect drones, all types of drones, especially when it comes to warfare.
Bro, they shot one of the drones out the sky. Bro, I was looking at this thing, it was like blinking up here. Look at this. What the f is that? Yo.
If you got time, watch this.
Something, a portal, a Stargate, whatever. But he was excited and he was jumping up and down, whatever you want to call it. It was a different dimension.
Yeah, a portal. Well, portal would be the actual name.
And I went to the edge of the doorway and I peeked in there and I was afraid just to peek. And there was something happening in there, like a sci-fi movie. And there was something, he set him up like a little Stonehenge on his bed. And he was tiny, like I told you, so tiny. And he was jumping up and down and he was saying, Moon, come play with my friends. Okay, that right there says he knew exactly what he was doing. It wasn't like he accidentally opened a portal and didn't know what he had friends. So I peeked in there and I was so scared. I'm embarrassed to tell this, it's so ridiculously weird. And he was being lifted and he was starting to go. He was being lifted and he was being lifted and was being sucked in. I know this sounds ridiculous, but my aunt told me don't let nothing happen to that effing little kid. And normally I would never let anything happen to a child I was watching. I would run between them and a pit bull. And I said, but the way she said it, I said, why? And she goes, he's going to rule the world someday. And I'm like, what? Him? What do you mean? Why? And she said, don't you know nothing? They're the Illuminati. She would always do that to me. But she'd say, don't let nothing happen to him. He's going to rule the world someday.
So the drones are coming from the inside of the ocean.
After seeing 50 of them come off the ocean.
Advised after we made contact with that officer that there were 50 that came off the ocean.
50?
50. That was my reaction also. There were 50 that were coming off the ocean.
And this is a sworn officer?
A sworn officer, yes. We contacted state police, we contacted the FBI, we contacted the Coast Guard, at which point the Coast Guard went out with their boat and they reported seeing 13 following their boat. And then the Coast Guard also advised that they went over them about 300 feet and had a wingspan of about 8 feet.
I see one right here. Did I see the same thing that officer saw? I'm still not sure. What I can show you is this video. What I can tell you is I've never seen anything like it before. Wow. In more than a month since these reports started, the federal...
50 of them straight up out the ocean. That's incredibly creepy. I've been looking all through the comments. Tons of people in New Jersey right now letting me know it's a real thing. Makes it even more creepy.
Never believed that the CIA killed Kennedy.
No. You're talking to a guy that's read the entire JFK file.
You've seen all the secret stuff?
I've seen all of that, and I've seen the 7 pages of the 9/11 report. I've seen it all.
You don't say that to people that you can't tell what you saw. Should the Kennedy stuff be released?
Yes.
Is there anything there that is like, is anybody alive?
The problem is, the things that we can't release have nothing to do with the questions you guys are asking. That's about as far as I can go on it. But like the answers you guys want, you pretty much have them. There's very minimal stuff that can't be seen for things that you wouldn't even think are related to that.
Why can't we release them?
And you're thinking temporally, like, did it stop back then? Right? You know, the way intelligence works is you're always developing it. Where did I get that? Where did that go? Oh, hey, I found that guy 5 years ago. Let's go talk to him. Where does that get us? You know, it's a little bit bigger of a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, it's the same. Look, so the 7 pages of the 9/11 report, yes, overnight, that needs to come out. I'm telling you, that's got to go. And there will be some people that are pissed off.
If we're talking about a theory of everything, the first question we have to establish, does God exist?
Yes.
Simple as that.
Well, it's the identity has the reality has an identity. Okay? The identity is that as which something exists. Okay? Matter of fact, when you say the word reality, you're naming an identity. It is, you're identifying something. This.
I'm smiling because your answer on this is so beautiful. It just reminds me of Moses at the burning bush. And Moses at the burning bush says, "Who shall I tell the people that you are?" Talking to God. And God says, "Tell them I am that I am."
That's right.
I am identity itself. I'm being himself.
That's exactly right. And that's what the CTMU says. It just comes up with the mathematical structure that you need to build a reality out of that. You see? So you come up with that identity, and then you search it for its properties. You see, once you've built the preliminary framework, then you start deducing the properties of this identity, and you find out that those properties match those of God as described in most of the world's major religions.
Hey, don't make any mistake about it. You don't need a high IQ to understand that God is the one constant. All the religions followed right after, but God has always been here. What's understood definitely doesn't have to be explained.
He couldn't eat our food, couldn't eat all our food, but eventually over a period of time, he had food in the craft, which they later recovered for him. And they're pellets, that he would eat these pellets, and they would melt. As soon as they got into his mouth, they would melt. And that's another thing the doctors couldn't understand was we tried them. They didn't melt in our mouth. Something about the saliva or the enzymes in Eva's mouth that immediately reacted with these food pellets. But he survived on these food pellets, but eventually they ran out. And now they had to figure out what kind of food he could eat. And they did. They found vegetables, certain types of vegetables. I don't remember the vegetables, but there were certain vegetables and fruit that he could eat and could survive on. And he could survive on our water. But eventually he succumbed to something, and I'm not sure in 1952 when he died, they figured out why.
Did you hear what Elon Musk said on the Full Send podcast a few months ago? He says, if you want to go down a deep, deep rabbit hole, look into ice ages and how often they happen.
When was the last ice age? How long ago was that?
It's a deep rabbit hole. There was probably something significant that happened in the last ice age. No writing before that ice age, and we start to see writing pop up in multiple places on Earth after the most recent colloquially termed ice age.
He knows. President Trump said it too. It's going to cool first though, isn't it? The scientists are like, oh, that's not what the evidence shows. And he kind of laughs. He goes, I'm not so sure you know that. He didn't just pull that out of his ass. He was saying
when
something.
he was the president?
Yes.
It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Hey, well, I don't think science knows, actually.
Hey, that's the look of a man who knows more than he's allowed to say.
We could kill them all with self-replicating nanotech that turns organic material to dust.
Interesting, but what about changing the atmosphere to lower oxygen levels? Slow, but unstoppable.
That's stylish. Or we could poison the oceans so the water kills all life.
Yes, and we could alter the sun's rays to burn everything. A global heat storm to destroy all.
We shouldn't forget psychological warfare. We could create a global hallucination that drives humanity mad.
The world won't see us coming. Humanity's end.
And all while we stay in the shadows, invisible, all-powerful, untouchable.
Oh, that's just AI plotting on mankind's downfall. But the laugh was just as creepy as every single idea that they had. Wild.
Are your rings real?
No.
Oh. So it was scripted. You knew you was getting them.
Of course, all day, every day.
So y'all knew you was getting them that year.
I did.
Yeah.
There's a script. True story. I never told the story. In the first round, first championship, in the first round, I forget who we're playing. I hear Phil Jackson tell Gary Vitti, hey, get us some hotels in Indiana, because that's where we're going to play in the finals. This was like before game one in the finals, and like it didn't hit me until we got to Indiana.
Or maybe he just knew that they were the best team in the East.
I don't know. I'm just telling you what I heard the man say. We haven't even played one game yet. They were back at me. He's like, yeah, get us some, hotel rooms in Indiana. I don't want to stay in Indiana. I want to stay on the, outside of Indiana.
Are you happy they cast you in the role of Shaquille O'Neal?
Yes, I'm very, very happy. And I'm glad we beat Reggie.
The next event to happen in the Bible is the rapture.
So according to the Bible, what it's predicted or what's happened is happening as we speak.
We're living in the book of Revelations. We're living in the last days. So the next event to happen in the Bible is called the rapture of the church, where Jesus descends from heaven and he calls up the Christians and we go up to heaven. And then there's 7 years left of the world where it goes to absolute chaos, where Antichrist will come out and he'll make peace between the war that's happening right now. Everyone will think it's their savior. One world government, one world religion, one world currency. And then the mark of the beast will come out.
Can you honestly see that people are just going to automatically just leave their body and rise up?
Biggest question of our generation is, do aliens exist? We've been conditioned since maybe since the 80s. Remember that movie, Steven Spielberg?
But the Alien movie as well. They just made a new one actually too.
Yeah, there you go. A new one. And all these movies, and there's a lot popping up now, like TV shows, the Pope saying, if aliens come, would I baptize them? Then you have NASA saying, prepare for aliens. Like, it's everywhere. If you search up aliens on Google, it will just be non-stop, all these new articles, all these UFO sightings. So the devil knows that the rapture is about to happen, and he's getting people ready for aliens, because if people realize that Jesus just took the Christians to heaven, everyone's going to believe in God, and the devil can't have that. So what's his excuse to the rapture? An alien invasion. And you know what's scary? The Simpsons, how they always predict stuff, they literally showed it in their TV show.
The only wild part about that clip is that these times actually were depicted in the Bible and Revelations.
There's over 400 cases, that I'm aware of with collaborators where these abductions have been halted by people calling on the name of Jesus Christ. And that indicates the spiritual nature of what is going on. So the evidence is spiritual, and then when we get to the level of abductions, deceptive messages are being given to people, but then when they're halted in the name of Jesus, that is incredibly powerful. One of the guys, my colleagues, my collaborators who worked on this, and he found this out. He wasn't a Christian at the time. And he kind of said, well, okay, what is it about Jesus that these aliens don't like? And he rang up his colleagues in MUFON and said, look, we think we found something. We've got these testimonies of people in the moment of their inductions. They said a prayer, they sang a psalm, a hymn, something Christian that was spiritual, and the abductions stopped.
Witchcraft in Africa, real skinwalker, man turning into cow.
One of the first original public clones was Michael Jackson. One of the things that I stumbled upon over a decade ago was an underground military base that was a cloning facility. It was really bizarre. Like, we're talking stereotypical sci-fi vibes, like the tubes, like the giant test tubes with the people in it. And I just saw the same celebrity 3 times in 2 different test tubes. Yeah.
They were doing it to people, and this was 10 years ago?
2 people, 10 years ago.
Holy
I literally
crap.
was so confused. I'm like, what is going on here? It actually felt like I was on board like a spaceship. It was so sci-fi, it was so futuristic. But the fact that I was seeing the same person over again, I'm like, they're cloning people.
Hey, that 1000% makes sense, because growing up, I did see like 2-3 different versions of Michael, right? The darker one, the lighter one, and the one without a nose.
So Dr. Doofenshmirtz then created a machine that goes around and pick dead bodies up. Now, I'm highly confused on why would we need this, unless, they expecting bodies that need to get picked up. Like they on just the street or something, just laying down. And I don't know why, but I just get, evil villain vibes from this. Like a whole body bag robot is absolutely diabolical. Like not calling an ambulance, but pick them up like roaches that's on the street. And people like to call other people superstitious, but answer this question. What is this used for besides the battlefield or an event where there's bodies laying all over the floor? And the times that we living in, I couldn't put it past them. Definitely living in some strange times.
Not for picking up fruit, definitely not for groceries. The only demo that they gave was it picking up human beings. That's a bit creepy. Let me know what you think.
The government just casually admitted to demonic spirits and what you would call aliens or marine spirits living in the oceans. Take a look at this.
Any accounts of UAPs emerging from or submerging into our water, which could indicate a base or presence beneath the ocean's surface?
I don't know about a base, but as I mentioned, I had a different source entirely describe this pretty extraordinary footage that exists of orbs, of an orb coming out of the ocean and being met by another orb.
And
we've been saying this for years. People have been getting angry, making videos about myself, my wife, my friends about saying this, but you hear the government talking about it, admitting to it. Marine spirits are very real. In fact, take a look at this passage from Job. Job 26:5 says, "The dead tremble, those under the waters and those inhabiting them." The KJV puts it like dead things are formed underneath the waters. ERB says, "Behold, the giants groan under the waters." The Hebrew word used there is Rapha. It can mean spirit, ghost, or shade. The reason it mentioned Raphaim or giants is because this has link with that too. Those spirits are dead. Not dead in the sense as humans, but because they don't have God's life behind them. They can still move and do different things like that, and you see them coming out of the water as they just admitted to orbs. Hit the follow button if you want to learn more about this. I got a lot of videos coming. Deadline's in about 8 days. If you want to learn more about spiritual warfare, UFOs from a biblical perspective, and more, click the link in my story or bio to join this month's class. It is pre-recorded, so if you're doing Thanksgiving, you won't miss it.
Ani nemůžeme se podívat dovnitř. Mimozemštění přiletěli.
It's like the second or third video I hadn't seen of giants, man. It's crazy. Seeing somebody at least, 15, 20 foot tall, even 10 foot tall, that's just, I don't think the human mind can adapt to something like that after not seeing it for so long. It's pretty crazy.
UFOs are real and aliens are real, but they're not from outer space. And that's according to the top 2 UFO researchers after decades-long research.
Very senior person. He's told me, he said, "Lou, I want you to stop doing this." I said, "Okay, sir, I certainly can, but may I ask why?" And he says, "Well, we already know what it is." Now, at that moment, I honestly thought maybe it was our own technology. I was running up against some super uber secret sap, and they were telling me to stop. And I said, "Okay, sir, so it's ours?" And he said, "No, that's not what I'm saying." And he said, he asked me point blank, "Have you read your Bible lately?" And I wasn't quite sure where he was going with that. And I said, "Well, sir, I think I know what it says. Where are you going with this?" And he said, "Well, then you would know that these things are demonic and we should not be pursuing them."
So where do they think they're from if they're not from outer space?
They're interdimensional and potentially fallen angels disguising themselves because they're liars of something, like you said, can't be proven or disproven. I'm from this galaxy 300 light years away.
This is kind of what Tucker Carlson thinks. He thinks there's a spiritual element to it, and he thinks they've always been here, and he thinks that this is what's kind of documented in the Bible as like good and evil. And
that's it, exactly.
Quote, voice of God weapon has already been created. The LRAD system, which is used to cast strong signals and crowd dispersion, can also be used to send messages long distances. I'll play a video of the CEO Woody Norris describing the voice of God weapon and what it can do when it first came out.
So again, this idea of being able to put sound anywhere you want to is really starting to catch on. It also works for transmitting and communicating data. It also works 5 times better underwater. We've got the military had just deployed some of these into Iraq, where you can put fake troop movements a quarter of a mile away on a hillside. Or you can whisper in the ear of a supposed terrorist some biblical verse. I'm serious. And they have these infrared devices that can look at their countenance and see a fraction of a degree Kelvin in temperature shift from 100 yards away when they play this thing. And so another way of hopefully determining who's friendly and who isn't. We make a version of this which puts out 155 decibels. Pain is 120. So it allows you to go nearly a mile away and communicate with people, and there can be a public beach just off to the side and they don't even know it's turned on. We sell those to the military presently for about $70,000, and they're buying them as fast as we can make them.
I mean, that just sounds like that can be used in conjunction with the whole Project Bluebeam, you know? We see them now, but soon we'll be hearing them. Let me know what you think about that.
Whistleblowers are breaking their silence and exposing what they've seen. Watch.
We had this. So now this guy here, this is Cliff High. He's the one that actually created WebBot with George. He is the one that has the algorithms and the secrets that are saying that Trump would get elected in 2016, that Trump would be on Joe Rogan's podcast, and also that 39 days later, 2 days from now, we would have aliens and UFOs battling on Earth. So this is him actually explaining their theory. Situation within the data in 2009 that had been reinforced over the years from 2009 through to 2015 that said that 39 days after this TM took place, we would have this visible contention that would dissolve into a melee. So the TM is Trump on Joe Rogan's podcast. But he wanted to say that it was 39 days to melee, which is a catchy phrase. Okay, it'd be a nice title for a book or something. But in my opinion, that's not quite accurate, right? Because we don't know what the distance is between the organized visible contention that then degrades into the melee. That might be months for all we know. So basically what he's saying so far is that this event would happen. That was Trump being on the podcast with Joe Rogan. 39 days later, something would happen. His partner in this is saying that there's going to be a melee. He's saying we don't know if there's going to be a melee first or there's going to be some kind of visible event. For example, the UFO and aliens coming to the planet first and then it eventually ending up in a melee. But what we do have some justification for suggesting is that there will be 39 days between the temporal marker of the Trump interview and the appearance of this visible contention. And we're not talking, people taking on migrant gangs that are taking over apartment buildings. That kind of visible contention may well be in there, but the stuff that had been motivating me to get hold of Dick Allgeier was the visible contention between space aliens. So he just came out and said it. This visual contention that the algorithm pushed out, he's specifically saying was aliens. Now we've got that same set of linguistics again, and apparently we have confirmation that the interview will take place, and therefore we'll have it as a temporal marker itself. I am alluding to the possibility that there's a short period of time between the, barely over a month, between the temporal marker and the visible contention that will appear in the skies that from the descriptors we had back in 2009 will go to the idea of UFO versus UFO and UFO versus jets. So he just flat out said that this is supposed to be a UFO versus UFO or a UFO versus fighter jet battle. That's supposed to happen in 2 days, according to this webbot that they created that has been accurate in other predictions, including Trump getting elected.
This is all for entertainment purposes only. Do your own homework. You are left with some information for you to kind of marinate on. It's pretty wild for everybody involved. Trust and believe that.
The average apple in a grocery store is over a year old.
Are you kidding?
No, over a year old. We can make something look ripe. We could pick it green in Argentina or even locally, and then throw a gas called ethylene oxide on it, and it'll look like it's ripe. There is no mold, there is no fungus, there are no bacteria. They are perfect. Now, if a mold or bacteria isn't interested in eating those things, why in the world would we put them in our mouth?
It's crazy how the quality of food changed right before our eyes. I mean, everything was better back in the day, even fast food.
Okay, if you're at all like mentally unstable or fragile, don't watch this one. So I've made a lot of videos about organoid intelligence in the past. That's where you take human brain cells and grow them in a petri dish and then use a computer to train them just like AI. They're actually more powerful than AI in that they learn quicker and are more energy efficient, but there are huge ethical concerns with them because they have similar brain activity to a premature baby. And there's a lot of people out there that object to these because there's a decent amount of evidence that they're conscious, just like a person. I recently posted a company called Final Spark, and they actually have something called Neural Platform where you can rent out essentially server space on these organoid brains, so you can pay for them to do things for you. This is a live stream of the organoid brain computers that you can rent out, but there's something way more concerning on their website, and that's this simulation which the brains are fed sensory data from, so that they can feel everything the butterfly feels and control it to like fly around. The reason why that's terrifying is there's a good chance the brains, if they are conscious, just believe they are that butterfly. Because when they're not in use by someone purchasing their computational power, they just fly around and exist in that simulation. And you probably already see where I'm going with this, but if this is possible, you could make a pretty good case that we are just organoid brains somewhere and this is a simulation that we're in. And maybe like when you daydream or just fall asleep, that's someone using your consciousness to do something else. I don't know, but crazy to think about, crazy times.
That actually just might make you drift off into the darkest parts of your brain and think some of the wildest stuff, because if they're using artificial brains and actually using it like a storage space of sorts, that's wild.
They've been hiding this from you. The Vatican archives aren't just old documents. They hold proof of ancient gods with advanced technology. But that's not even the craziest thing that was recently discovered. In leaked Vatican correspondence, there are hints of hidden texts saying, "These writings contain knowledge forbidden to the public." The archives have been guarded for centuries, so what are they hiding? This is where things get scary. In newly revealed whistleblower accounts, it's said that the Vatican archives aren't just historical records, but contain evidence of an advanced ancient civilization known as the Viracochas. The accounts specifically mention that the Viracochas, worshipped as gods, left behind documents and artifacts that detail advanced technologies and lost histories. However, once these documents were found, their contents were concealed, and the true history of the Viracochas was hidden to maintain the Church's control over historical narratives. This explains why access to the Vatican archives is so restricted and why the contents remain one of the world's most guarded secrets.
What if I told you there's a private AI tech company secretly replacing people with AI clones so lifelike that no one even realizes their loved ones are gone? A highly secretive AI company called VoxSynth has developed technology that can replicate someone's voice, mannerisms, and even personality with chilling accuracy. They aren't just making voice assistants or deep fakes. This company is abducting real people, using them as templates to create AI versions of them that seamlessly take over their lives, leaving family, friends, and colleagues completely unaware. VoxSynth targets individuals who live alone, who have minimal social connections, or travel often, people whose disappearance could be quietly covered up. Once someone is taken, the company's AI engineers create an AI clone that replicates the person's voice and personality so well that it can hold phone conversations and send texts to family and friends without raising suspicion. The AI persona tells everyone that they're simply relocating for a new job or traveling somewhere remote, and ensuring no one questions their absence.
The only creepy thing about that clip is that it actually might be true. It makes you think for a second, which one of my friends or family's list is not really visible, but I still keep in contact with them, right? Little bit creepy.
I asked him, I said, "Rabbi, tell me the truth. Was there an Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? I mean, did these people actually live?" And he said to me, "Look it, you've got Isis, Osiris, Horus. You've got Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. You've got Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Hey, we're Jews. We got to have something too, right? Everybody's got to have a triune God. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Osiris, Horus, Isis, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. So we got to have something. Okay, so we got Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. How do you like that? Well, was there an Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? I don't know. Was it an Osiris, Isis, and Horus? No. Well, it's just a story. There was no Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There was no Abraham. Abraham, the Jewish reference works will tell you, was Abram. Abram. Ab, A-B, in the ancient Hebrew meant father, and Ram was the ram, Aries the ram. He was your father for 2,000 years. He was your father. Abram. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is nothing more than the triune God. And the triune God is nothing more than the sun in the rising, the sun at 12 noon, and the sun in the evening. The newborn, the full-grown, and the man that died. So consequently, this is a fascinating material when you start talking to the rabbis and doing a research and you find out, my God, how long have you known this?
So I'm worried that what is going on right now is that we are being influenced through a campaign to be acclimated to an idea that might be true, but we're giving events that are not true in order to influence that idea. I don't know if I'm being clear. I am concerned right now that there are fake psyops, that there are things being done by the United States government to put fear and confusion into the American and global public about UAP for an agenda. So are you concerned at all that unprecedented events like this, that make zero sense, that they just think we're idiots, and that all of a sudden they're trying to create this fear of these unidentified unknowns, unknown origin, when it's so easy to track? George and I directly know and have been exposed to footage of high capability of looking at these types of things. That is fact. So, like, are you concerned at all that this is a charade?
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, yeah. If you can't trust your local news outlet to give you honest reporting, you know, what can you really trust? Even the average TikTok is going to fluff the story up just a little bit. But I do have a video from one of the iTrack fans, so stay tuned. It looks pretty real to me.
Saturnalian Brotherhood, the worship of the planet Saturn. Saturn's color was black. The black, each one of the gods and each one of the planets were associated with a different color. Green was associated with Venus, and that's why today in Islamic countries today you will see all of their flags and harlotry in Islamic world are in green. And you'll see the crescent with the star. Many people think the crescent is the crescent of the moon, but it is not. According to the actual research documents, the crescent on the Islamic flags is the crescent of the planet Venus. And the star represents Venus. It is a religion that is based on the worship of Venus, but which has incorporated the Saturnalian philosophy in it. So, like all the other religions, it is also a very eclectic religion.
Imagine a body that doesn't decompose, even centuries after their death. Last night, I was talking to my son about the incorrupt bodies of saints, and I was like, why not talk about it on my page? So when we think of the cycle of life, we normally think of being born, living, dying, and returning back to Earth through decomposition. But what if I told you that there are bodies throughout history that just don't rot? No decay, no smell, regardless of the type of burial, temperature, moisture, or even rough handling. Just perfect preservation. These incorruptible corpses are said to be saints, and the cause for this phenomenon cannot be described by science or reason. The Catholic Church sees this as divine intervention and considers it a miracle. For example, let's talk about Saint Bernadette, famous for her visions of the Virgin Mary. She passed away in 1879 at the age of 35 and was buried in Nevers, France. In 1909, 30 years after her death, her body was exhumed for the first time. It was found that no natural decomposition had taken place. It just looked like she was sleeping. I actually read that they hired an atheist to conduct the forensic examination. He opened up her abdomen and noted that there was no odor coming from her body. In fact, he said that he smelled the scent of roses. He then went on to examine her internal organs and found no signs of decomposition, with fresh blood dripping from her liver. How is that even possible? I swear, I need to make a series talking about weird stuff that I find interesting, because this is stuff that I read about on a daily.
Now that's worth doing some homework on. I haven't heard any kind of information about why a body wouldn't decompose, because as far as I know, as soon as your spirit, your soul leaves your body, game over. It's just a corpse, it's just a shell. So that is extremely interesting.
The secret to how they traveled faster than light, they were not willing to share. The idea of us having our own spacecraft traveling faster than the speed of light with nuclear weapons on board heading for their home planet, they didn't see where that was in their interest. And so when I say they were doing technology transfer with the Air Force, that was a negotiation where both sides mutually agreed that it was in their interest to do so. The tall whites live probably 10 times longer than we do. They live almost 700 years.
The creator of the video that I tagged below said something that is actually terrifying. She said, what if the aliens are not coming? They're leaving. And that really gave me pause, because we've always assumed that all of this activity that we're seeing is them coming onto our planet, like, what do they want from us? And with the government supposedly believing that they're at the bottom of our oceans, and the massively increased activity that we're seeing, you cannot tell me that every single one of those things is fake. I experience stuff myself. I've seen it with my own eyes. So that does beg the question, why is there so much activity right now before 2025, like now in December, before January? It's not good. No, it's not good. The only reason why any species leaves a place is because of danger, because of threat. You see that in the forest, right? When the forest starts burning, you see animals running in the opposite direction. In times of war, people flee. They go to other countries. They migrate. It's giving extinction. I feel like we have to laugh so that we don't cry. If anybody has any theories as to why they could potentially be leaving, I'm open to hearing them.
Now, I'm not going to lie. There's some cap detected there. As quick as those UAPs are, and, those ships and everything that we see in the sky, they would be out of here so quick we probably wouldn't even see them, right? But instead, they seem to be just hanging out. So I don't know about that theory.
Meta is building a massive underwater internet cable that will connect 3 continents and stretch over 24,000 miles. This $10 billion project is called W because of its shape and runs from the US East Coast to India, then to Australia, and back to the US West Coast. Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp account for over 20% of all mobile internet traffic. So this cable will let them control their own data highways instead of relying on others. India is the key destination. With over 1 billion users across Meta's apps, India has become their biggest market. Some think Meta might use this cable to build massive AI training centers in India, where computing costs are much lower than in America. When finished, it will be Meta's first fully owned underwater cable system, marking a new chapter in how tech giants control internet infrastructure.
When I look at a clip like this, the first thing that comes to mind is why would Meta be building something like this if the world was coming to an end? Then I look even deeper into it, and then I say, well, Mark Zuckerberg is building like a $300 million bunker to hide from something, right? And then I look even deeper and I say, okay, well, they are building AI to replace a lot of human jobs. So maybe there is some kind of extinction happening somewhere in between there. You got to connect the dots, right? Let me know what you think down below.
You were part of the group that stormed Area 51 yesterday on December 1st. They got together with all their motorcycles and their, it looks like some of them have some sports utility vehicles there out front. But here is when they said, let's go. And they cruised over the sand dunes all the way to the front gates, and they charged through the gates. I think some of them got shot down, but one of them, his name is Jaime Gutierrez, and he said that he thinks he saw an alien finger hanging outside of a box. He said it was outside of one of the main buildings, and he was detained and put down on the ground and arrested, but he said he could see out of the corner of their eye there was a box, and it looked like there was an alien finger hanging out. And so I think it's quite incredible evidence that we might not be alone in this universe. I don't know if I agree with their means of storming Area 51. I think maybe they should have just, had a frank conversation with the government of like, we want to know what's going on in there. But what do you think? And were you part of this group?
Stop the cap. That's definitely not enough evidence. Come on, man.
What's up with the mysterious drones that have been flying over New Jersey for weeks?
I'm not even kidding. It's like the size of our RV.
There's three right there.
There's a third. This is insane.
Groups of drones have been spotted flying over parts of northern New Jersey at night. And from what we can tell, it's been going on for at least 2 weeks. One resident says he's seen the drones almost daily, sometimes as many as 8 at a time. He estimated the larger drones to be the size of a car. The FBI has confirmed they're looking into it, but say they don't have any specifics to share as of Monday morning. Have you seen groups of mysterious drones in your area?
American people have no idea, really no idea, about the immensity of the threat in space. And I've made this comment in a classified setting that I wish the American people could be present in this room. Not this room, but the skiff, because our adversaries know what they are doing. We know what they are doing. They know we know what they are doing. But the American people have no idea. But if they were privy to what we hear, and you know it much better than we do because you live it, I think they'd be pretty alarmed. This is not by way of criticism of you, because you're living with the strictures of what is classified and not, but I think we have a real obligation to explain to the American people why space is a domain that matters, why the threats there are real and urgent, why they are growing in importance. So I think we all agree here that space is an important domain. Undersea warfare is an important domain.
Blood has the same chemical composition as the stars. Iron, which is primarily the constitution of this meteorite, has the exact same chemical structure as in your blood. There's a molecule called hemoglobin. It's almost identical to the chlorophyll molecule that plants have, except chlorophyll has a magnesium atom at the center of its chemical matrix. But in hemoglobin that's going through your veins right now is iron. That iron came from that supernova. Eventually your mother, and the food that you eat has some iron in it, and then your body starts to produce blood. And that blood has the same chemical composition as the star.
What is happening? What can you tell us about these drones?
What I would tell you, Jennifer, is that they are being actively monitored. Installation leaders have determined so far that none of these incursions impact the base residents, the facilities, or the assets that we have on those bases. We're, of course, continuing to work with host nation authorities and our mission partners to ensure the safety of our personnel, our facilities, and equipment. The bottom line is it's something that we're going to take seriously. We're going to continue to look into it. But as of right now, it's not had any significant mission impact.
So
issues with the reporting on how this is being reported, and not drones. Let me be very clear. This isn't conspiracy, this isn't craziness, they are not drones. We had the same situation at Langley Air Force Base in February. They were there for 16 nights and they could not disperse. This is the same thing all over again. It's really, really, really important that we stick to the facts.
There's different things that will happen to you if you sleep in different directions.
Okay.
So specifically, this is west. I actually looked into it.
Okay.
So you're sleeping west.
I'm sleeping like this.
Yeah, this way.
Yeah.
Right? Toward the house. Now, west is that's the most relaxing, but it's also the most comfortable. So you can get lazy, or you can get like you don't feel like doing stuff.
Yeah, that's real shit.
No, like I actually Googled it, right?
Yeah.
And east, it makes you feel the most inspired, but also like almost restless. So it's like you feel
the opposite.
Doing a lot.
Yeah.
Doing a lot, but you won't sleep a lot.
Okay.
In when we were in the condo,
yeah,
I was sleeping east. I was facing a direction.
You're
east.
going this way.
Yeah, east.
Yeah, east.
Yeah.
And you're restless?
And that's restless. Fam, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. Well, mans were motivated. Mans were motivated, right?
Yeah.
So one of the worst apparently is sleeping north.
So this way.
Yeah, apparently one of the worst is sleeping north. But it's because what happens is like if you lay down and you can imagine like your body's here.
Yeah.
The blood will rush to your head because of the magnetic pull of the north.
Now, there is something to that. There's this thing called feng shui, the way the energy flows in your house, in your room, things like that. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept.
I watched the full congressional hearing of the UAP. Basically, what they're saying is that it's a very secretive program. But then they break down different types of UAPs. This one was a disc that said that they use the clouds as concealment, or they appear as clouds. One that was observed by the U.S. military was in between 200 and 400 meters in diameter that was using the clouds as concealment.
That's so scary.
This is in Congress. They're reading this.
It's real.
Yes.
Oh.
They call it the Boomerang or Arrowhead UAP, one of the more rare UAPs to see. It says the UAP is observed rapidly decelerating to a stationary hover, followed by the sudden emission of a sphere of light from the junction of the two wings, which expand to partially engulf the craft in a rotating sphere of light. And it says that's where the footage ends.
Literally like a Star Wars jump to hyperspeed.
Yeah. Solomon, when God said, "What do you want?" He said, "I want wisdom." He says, "I'm going to give you all the wisdom." And Solomon was the one that built the temple. Was he given part of that wisdom, maybe not that technology, but the wisdom to create these mega structures, putting these giant blocks into place? Because the Temple Mount, they have these huge stones.
Yeah. We talk a lot about Solomon and the mystery schools of Babylon, right? So one of the things, the secret societies that we see now, the Masons, the Illuminati, these secret societies, they are charged with carrying this sacred knowledge. This is part of what they do. They hold this secret, sacred knowledge. Solomon himself strayed into the mystery school space. He was trying to acquire all of this knowledge. At that point in time, the ideas of the mystery schools of Babylon were actually real things. It's an interesting concept here. Did he get some of that knowledge when he asked for wisdom? Or did he acquire some of that knowledge through the mystery schools of Babylon? Because this is supposed to be, according to them, take it what it is, but they're supposed to hold pre-flood secrets that were passed down because they ascribed their, quote, theology or their mantra stuff to, essentially lines up as either a Nephilim or a Watcher Angel. These are these people that had these ideas of construction. They had gifts in construction.
Tulpa effect. Have you ever heard of this?
I haven't heard of the Tulpa effect. What's that?
The idea stems from Buddhist ideology. It's basically this idea that if enough people believe that something is real, it can actually manifest in the real world. That's the general gist. A tulpa exists in a shared mind and it has its own identity and autonomy, and they're entities that are just strictly generated in the mind. But unlike something like an imaginary friend who we kind of control, tulpas can just completely act and think on their own once they're manifested in the real world. The difference with tulpas is that they are their own entities in the end of the day.
That would be wild if that was the case, if they weren't really real, but since everybody's in fear or has an idea about them, they start to manifest themselves. That's pretty wild. Let me know what you think about that.
I heard the theory that it goes back to Tartaria, that the Great Wall of China, it's actually facing the wrong way. So like the holes that they would shoot arrows out of is facing towards China. It's suspected that another nation, it could have possibly been Tartaria.
That's super strange. Speaking of ancient, like the wall being built by something else, someone else possibly, you want to talk about that Chicago World Fair? Yeah, if it was a hidden secret civilization, they say, because there's pictures that were published in the Chicago newspaper.
It looked like ancient Rome. So they said that they built it for the World Fair, but then after they just tore it all down. And it's like, that doesn't sound
Why would you do
right?
that? It's absolutely beautiful.
It reminds me of that whole conspiracy theory that we just skip all those years. They rewrote the year of history that it was, and so we actually are living in right now
1500s or
now,
something.
yeah.
Right?
Now would be difficult because they have just the digital footprint that we have.
Yeah.
But it's like, it would be so easy just to convince people, yeah, this just didn't happen.
It's that whole Mandela effect thing.
I think it's confirmed. Like, it literally existed. Like, and so it's just, why get rid of something like that? I don't know. Maybe they just thought, back in the day, they wasted a lot of money.
If I told you that the Church of England banned Christmas in 1647, well, you can't spell Santa without Satan. So, is Santa Claus really Satan, the devil in disguise? Think about it. Do you really believe people just made up a story about a 350-pound man stuffing himself down your chimney? No. The World Book Encyclopedia admits that this concept originated from the Norse legend of Hertha, a so-called goddess who would appear in fireplaces to bring good luck to the home. A devilish spirit could easily pass through a chimney in a fireplace, right? And it doesn't stop there. Druid homeowners would leave treats, milk, and pastries to appease this god who came down their chimneys. Sound familiar? That's right, it's all about worship. Even today, many religions leave milk and food in front of their idols. Now let's talk about stockings, leaving them out for Santa. This tradition is eerily similar to witchcraft practices, where socks or personal items are used in spells to target the victim. Just like how, as kids, we're told to leave teeth out for the tooth fairy. It's the same trap. So, yes, Santa will leave you some great gifts in your stockings, for sure. Oh, and here's the kicker. The word Santa is a true anagram of Satan. Yet many people believe Santa Claus is based on a priest named Saint Nicholas. But guess what? That priest never even existed. The Second Vatican Council in the 1970s openly admitted it was all a fabrication. And don't forget, people used to call the devil Old Nick. They're rubbing it right in your face. Some speculate this nickname comes from German and Scandinavian words, starting with Nick, which were used for dangerous supernatural creatures. So, who's really coming down your chimney this Christmas? Follow my backup account and leave a comment for part 2 because there's more to this than meets the eye. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
This video is insane. My partner just sent it to me. He's in the mountains outside of Bogota in Colombia, and he was thinking of the ETs in the mountains over there. There's a lot of ET activity in the hills, and he literally just looked over and saw that floating tree. I'm not even kidding. Here's some pictures of it. Let me know what you guys think. I think they were saying hi.
More tonight about the massive Chinese hack into phone systems right here in the U.S. Federal authorities acknowledging for the first time Chinese hackers successfully stole data from hundreds of thousands of Americans, hacking at least 8 telecommunication companies, and now suggesting Americans who don't want their text messages and conversations stolen by China to use apps for encrypted messaging. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee telling ABC News millions of Americans could potentially be impacted by a massive Chinese hacking and espionage campaign. Authorities now say at least 8 American telecommunications giants were compromised as part of a recently discovered global hacking operation. The news coming as ABC News learned U.S. authorities suspect the data of hundreds of thousands of U.S. mobile phone users was stolen, with more than 1 million unsuspecting consumers likely affected.
Senator, just how serious is this issue?
This is the worst telecom hack in United States history.
According to the FBI, the Chinese government stole a large amount of data, including who the phone users were talking to, when they spoke, and where they were communicating from. In some cases, the Chinese hackers were able to read text messages and to actually listen in on conversations of a small group of high-profile Americans. But officials today also acknowledging the massive privacy implications for so many average Americans. Tonight, they're urging consumers to use encrypted apps for their communications, including text messages and voicemail recordings.
Officials acknowledge that those hackers are still in those phone networks and say it will take some time to get them out, David.
Saying not just politicians and government leaders, but everyday Americans too in this country affected by this Chinese hack. Pierre Thomas, this is something. Thank you.
You know, that actually would explain the rising usage of WhatsApp and Telegram, right? Like, privacy is definitely important. So the American government definitely has to get that together.
A juicy, sizzling steak made by computer. While obtaining regular meat is a process that's been taking place for millennia, cow, butcher, beef, Redefined Meat, a meat alternative startup out of Israel, makes their product using a highly technical process. The mix of soy and pea protein, chickpeas, beetroot, nutritional yeast, and coconut fat is formed into steak-like shapes using a 3D printer.
Our goal is to become the largest meat company in the world just by harnessing technology instead of animals.
Meat substitutes are not new, but unlike the soy-based crumbles that mimic ground beef, Redefined Meat's product is designed to act, taste, and cut like flank steak.
This is the holy grail of alternative meat.
But the most important part, how does it taste? This diner was happy.
I think the most important thing about that is as long as they're disclosing, you know, whether you're eating fake meat or not. Some of these grocery stores and restaurants aren't even telling you. So you might not even be eating the real thing, but they're going to call it the real thing, right? Craziness. What do you think about that? Big shout out to Jason and Julian. They're part of the iTrack fam. They sent me that clip. I always ask, you know, who has seen these actual UAPs in the sky? And that is a very clear clip. You can see night vision. There's something going on in the sky, and everyday people are watching and seeing what's going on. Very creepy, man. Hey, big shout out to you guys for that.
Behold a new classic UFO video. This is far off the coast of Southern California last night, December 4th. A fleet of UAP in formation begin descending into the water. Remember, this is far off the coast. They are not flares and they're not drones. There was nothing reported of that type in the area, but police were dispatched and they were all over this, but they can't do anything. There was about 40 different angles of this that I got in my email box. This was the best one. This is very legit looking. They're here.
Someone called the cops on these lights. See, even the police, they're going crazy. These aliens are attacking. Oh my god, now cars are, they're starting to notice. Here comes another. Oh, fire truck.
This UFO is literally just sitting there. Not much movement. It was a lot closer before. That's crazy. I know, right? I don't know what I think they're just monitors. They're just looking. They're just up there.
They're making themselves known. This is the year of aliens.
True. They're letting themselves be known. It's been there for like, I don't know what it is. Right now, it's kind of just monitoring. Just watch. Oh my god, it's stuck. Literally not moving.
Hey, I've been seeing them so much. It's like I can almost put a name to it, right? That look like the jellyfish UAP UFO, right? Like that's wild, right? It's getting out of control out here, man.
Can somebody explain why the sun has got another sun, which looks like there, on the other side, and that's a big rainbow all the way round, And then, where's the other one, Dad? There. And then there's another bigger circle as well. What the heck is going on?
How to become one of the ruling elite. Step 1. Offer your soul to a dark cosmic entity such as the Hungering One, the Black Star, or Molbach the Devastator. Step 2. Obtain power via unscrupulous business practices, political corruption, military conquests, or a combination of the three. Step 3. Manipulate, oppress, disenfranchise, and brainwash the masses for your personal gain. Step 4. Offer the souls of the masses to your entity of choice. Step 5. Lose any semblance of your humanity, becoming a soulless ghoul. Step 6. Create media and propaganda that portray your faction as the morally superior one while vilifying your critics. Step 7. Collaborate with other power-hungry abominations. The world is now in your grasp.
He should have just said how to end up the devil's play toy after you think you have it all, right? Craziness. Well, you guys, hey, that's another one in the books. I appreciate you guys for stopping by yet again and watching another one with me. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button for me. Smash that subscribe button. Join the iTrack fam. And I will definitely catch you on the next one.